But
well, we're gonna start with the ultra shallow, super shallow,
yeah.
and I don't do a lot of the 0 to 2 foot
Mhm.
here, but there is one bait when I'm thinking super shallow water, especially when you're talking really small bait fish, when your bluegill are only, just after the bluegill spawn, they're only an inch long, and your shad are super, super small. And even silver sides, even though this bait does not represent silver sides, when they're eating the little silver sides and really small bait, this one right here, Megabass Griffin. This is
Put your
like
hand behind
0
it.
to.
Put your hand up behind it.
Is it not picking it up?
It doesn't. Yeah, that might look
So it's
better.
like 0 to maybe 3 foot. It's got. Let me see if I can. Can you hear that? Okay.
No. Don't hear anything.
Well, it's got a lot of glass in it, and it's a pretty loud crankbait for such a small bait.
More like a was it? Because since we couldn't hear it, does it sound more like a plastic beaded lipless? I don't know if anybody's heard some of those. Like some of the old lipless crankbaits didn't have a million lead BBs, or they had a bunch of plastic or glass ones in it.
Yeah. It's a high pitch. There's only I think there's only two or three BBs in here, but it's a high pitch. It's a high pitch rattle, and I crank this thing when it's tough. But they will eat a crank. I will crank this thing a lot in super shallow water. It almost acts. Let me hold this thing. Yeah, that's a pretty good view of it right there.
It looks like it deflects off cover pretty well.
It deflects amazing off cover. It does. It's just like a squarebill. It's not a squarebill. It's rounded on the front, but it deflects really, really well. And if you notice on this thing how wide that body is compared to the hooks, it does not hang up.
Right.
At all. It rolls.
And those are the factory hooks.
And those small hooks, these are the factory hooks. Yes.
I'm not going to give away a secret you'll probably talk about later, but that's why I was curious. Those are factory. Do you have a GT6 in front of you?
I do.
Everybody's familiar with the GT6. Hold that bait next to the bait you just had. Okay. So yeah, that's
it's small. Yeah, it's small.
So I have a bait that I use in sort of a similar situation. And that's the Spro Little Fat John. And you can see that bill,
Yeah.
Even wider than what you got. Sort of, you can see it's sort of that same thought process, right? But this is my little shad spawn, little shiners flicking up near the shore. This dives very, very shallow. Has a nice, what I would say, it's as much as you'd think that thing has this big, huge, wide, wobbly. It's so fast when it does it that it really works well for me. But that little Griffin intrigues me because I've always thought that this one has a little more roll than I want. How much roll does that Griffin have?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit. So it's going to be similar.
That bill is similar enough to where it acts almost the same probably.
Yeah. This one, a lot of people think of this more like a square bill, but I think this is more of like a finesse crank, like a power finesse crank, I don't think about it like a Lucky Craft 1.5. But I have another bait to show in regards to what you're talking about with your Griffin. Another Megabass bait. This is a Z crank. This is the Z crank Z1. Super Z crank Z1. It's only a 1/4 ounce. It has a weight transfer in it though, so it casts real nice. It's got their LBO weight transfer in it. But this is the other side of that spectrum. It deflects pretty good off cover, but it is definitely a little bit tighter, faster wiggle. So this is sort of that, as you can see the color I got bluegills up shallow early in the spring. Water's first warming up. You got a couple warm days, and at 2 foot and shallow is 60, and everything else is 50. I'm throwing this around. Or when you get into that, they're around bluegill beds or just chasing bluegills around on fry garters. This just those inside weed edges. this has gotten to be in the last 2 years. I only started fishing it 2 years ago. This has gotten to be a series of crankbaits, not just this one, but this one is really, it's replaced the Lucky Craft Flat Mini SR. I used to throw that a ton for that same circumstance, and that was almost like a shad rappy type action, but it's discontinued. You know, not the skeet, the actual original flat CB, the FLAT CB from Lucky Craft.
I don't exactly have an SR, what you're talking about.
But yeah, I mean, this is the MR. You know,
yeah,
I wouldn't call that a flat side crankbait, but you can see the bill is fairly narrow relative to the bait. But yeah,
so similar to that Spro bait, we're kind of into that square bill type bait.
Yeah.
Very similar bill. This is a bait that has not been made for a very long time, but it is a very similar bill. Method crank, Reaction Innovations method crank. This is a balsa square bill type bait. It's got a single knocker in it. Probably can't hear that at all.
No.
But this thing, I think there's still some out on eBay, but this thing absolutely wrecks them.
And when you told me about it, it's like I didn't even
crankbait.
When you told me about it, it's like, man, I don't even remember that. I don't remember that bait.
They didn't make them for very long,
but
they catch the snot out of them. Talking about balsa, I mean that bait is just your typical square bill. Throw into cover. I'll throw it during the shad spawn, in shad colors.
Yeah.
Anytime those fish are in real shallow wood, rock, this thing will get through cover really well, and it just catches the crap out of them.
Show me the bill.
The other balsa bait
profile of that again. Before, do you want to talk about your other balsa bait, or do you want to talk about something that I think I have that's maybe pretty similar to that?
Go ahead and touch on yours, and then we'll go to the other balsa one.
Yeah. All right. This is the actual Spro Fat John.
Yeah.
It is I look at this bait when I first bought it, I was like, that's a square bill version of a fat free shad. Like that's, like the bait, it's pretty flat on the side, but it's that wider body. But as you were holding up that method crank, I'm like, this bill angle's a little steeper, but this overall, other than this being flatter on the sides, it's not a whole lot different. So I'd be curious in the water what that bait looks compared to this one.
This is not a little bit more depth.
I don't know. This one's my deepest diving square bill I own.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
can you get like
4 feet's not a big deal.
Okay, I can probably get this one to like 6.
Yeah.
So it'll get a little bit more.
I rarely throw this on less than 16-pound test, so I don't know what to do on 4, or I mean on 12. I know it dives deep, deeper than a 1.5 Strike King or Lucky Craft. So this is my confidence. Like the way you talk about that method crank, this is mine. If I have to pick one, this is probably the one that's on my rod right now. Probably grab my square bill rod, this exact color, this bait. But yeah, I was curious once you started showing that method crank. I'm like, and it floats like balsa. John did a really good job figuring this bait out, in my opinion. Like this bait really, like it feels when you reel it, when you fish it, the way it floats off cover, deflects. It has that little bit of lag, but then really responsive of movement that you get out of balsa, where plastic is so instantaneous. It's so quick to respond. This seems to have that like lag to it. And that's why I love it. And this is the bait why I don't own a balsa square bill shallow crankbait anymore. This bait.
Got it.
And there's no rattle. It's nothing.
Well, one similarity that I see between this bait and that bait, hold it back up, the bill.
Yeah, like you can see the angle's a little different. That angle's steeper.
Well, yeah,
but yeah,
I'm
the overall shape.
I'm talking material.
Yeah. Yep. Circuit board.
So touch on that. You can probably do a little bit better job explaining the advantage of circuit board lip versus a plastic.
You know what? I probably can't. I'm very technical about a lot of stuff. The bills on a crankbait, I know very little about. You can have me a crankbait, and I can look at a bill, and I can sort of tell you, is that going to roll a lot, or what it's going to maybe be good for. But to try to design one from scratch, I'd be lost. I'd be guessing.
Well, the one
I can tell you this. I'll tell you the one thing I do know about the circuit board bill that I really like. I feel that I can detect the type of cover it's hitting a lot better with a circuit board bill than a Lexan plastic type bill that are on all the other baits. I mean, that's not a short bill by any extent of the imagination. What else do I got here? Did I not? I didn't even pull out another square bill. I know. Can you believe that? I mean, I got more square bills in the tackle box.
The biggest difference that I noticed between Lexan and circuit board is the way that it deflects off of rock. Your Lexan is much harder.
Yeah.
And I feel like a Lexan bill will jump off of rock quicker or more erratic than a circuit board bill will, because that circuit board is soaking up a little bit of that shock.
So this is a bait that I'd say is like your in between. This is I think anybody that's throwing a square bill crankbait has probably seen this over time, whether they've chose to buy them or not. You know, it's the Rick Clun, or originally it was a Rick Clun, but made by Lucky Craft, 1.5 square bill. They were exclusive at Bass Pro for forever. But you can see that bill
of it.
And that is super thin. That really does fish dang near like the circuit board bill. And I think it's because of how thin it is. You know, there are times when I throw this versus that other that Fat John. But I mean, I'm looking at it, and I don't have my Strike Kings in this box, but here's a Rocco.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I don't classify, when I say balsa baits, I don't classify Rapala as a balsa bait because they're just all balsa. But I mean, that's a straight up square bill circuit board. Spro Fat Papa. Try to get one out here. I don't have fancy boxes to keep them all. I got too many baits in one box. Fat Papa. Circuit board. You know, and I agree. I the way it hits cover and then deflects off that cover is definitely different. I think the fact because you feel it more positive also causes you to pause faster.
Yeah. Hitting
cover does not feel like getting a bite as much as it does if you've got, especially with like a big deep diving crankbait, like, you know, here's a 5XD. You hit cover with that. There's a lot of flex to that bill, what you don't realize in the front of that. And it absorbs sensation. And our crankbait rods are the most unsensitive rods, you know. I mean, I got some custom built crankbait rods that have titanium frame guides on it because I want as much sensitivity out of a blank that isn't very sensitive. I know you do that too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's, I wanted to, I really just thought that bait was like, that's very similar to the message crank. You'll have to order some.
So to me, sticking with, since we're still all kind of on that balsa topic and in the square bill range, I know you are very familiar with this bait, and they don't make it anymore. Although you can find them on eBay, and I've got a whole ton of them.
Oh, I just showed you. That's the same color fat wrap I showed you. I got pretty much
the old Rapala flat wrap, fat wrap.
Yeah.
And dude, this thing over how many years has this thing been out? I mean, they don't make it anymore.
It's been. Do they not make it at all anymore? I think they still make it. but there's like 4 colors only.
I don't think they do.
I'll look. They don't make
look
it in that current. I'm working on it.
But this bait, I mean, I want to say they were making this thing in the 70s.
What are you talking about?
Do they
I'm
still make
looking
it?
at a black and silver one on Tackle Warehouse right now. $8.99.
Maybe they still make it.
They make, according to Tackle Warehouse, this isn't Rapala's website, but crawdad, fire tiger, perch, and silver. So what's funny, the one they don't make anymore though is the shallow fat wrap, which was almost like a baby 1-. Probably it might predate the man's baby 1-. Those were the first 2 bass crankbaits that I ever fished. Here, the fat wrap used to be a big deal. Guys would do floats. They would just throw the flat bottom boat in and drag a rope with a chain, drift down the river, and you just cast behind all the trees and catch smallmouth and walleyes doing it. There's a lot of guys like that was the summer bait. It was the fat wrap. In the spring, after the walleyes are done spawning and stuff, you throw a shad wrap, and then once the water got warm, you switch to a fat wrap. Those were the first bass crankbaits I ever had. Remember they had the deep rattling fat wrap that was like a number 7 or 6. Caught a lot of fish on those over the years. Like those were for me like my original red crankbaits were those flow orange and red with the airbrush looked like Sharpie marker squiggles on it. Yeah, just squiggles. Yep. They were just the most. It looked like something you did in art class in 5th grade. But they worked. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I threw one. It was one of those things when they started making all these nicer, prettier colors. I was like, no, I want my old ugly colors. And I just, about this time that the original fat-free shad came out was probably when I quit throwing fat wraps.
Well, they didn't stop eating it. That's for sure.
I bet not. I wish I would have not stopped because now there's times where I'm like, man, I'd love to just like you got guys our age buying He-Man action figures because there's a He-Man movie out. It's like I want to just go throw a fat wrap and pretend like I'm 12 again.
Right.
I don't need any He-Man action figures, but I'll take some fat wraps and some Johnson Silver minnows and some Mep spinners and go fishing. Like I'm 12.
Yep. Yeah, that to me, that is one of the ultimate squarebill type baits. It has really stood the test of time. It still flat out catches them. It casts really, really well for a balsa bait. It is very aerodynamic. And it comes through cover. It comes through rock.
I don't know if the current fat wrap is balsa. Don't know if they kept it balsa. That might be what's different.
I have one plastic version. I have a 3,700 box full of fat wraps, and I have one plastic version. And I want to say that they still make the plastic version, but they don't make the balsa anymore.
No, crafted from extra durable balsa wood.
It is? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't bought one in probably 25 years. So.
It's got that like saw blade kerf groove in the nose of it still. Yeah. What you guy needs to do. Did I just blink away for a second?
No, you're good.
My laptop decided to be going to sleep mode, I guess.
No, you're still here.
So custom painted crankbaits. I don't play a lot with it anymore because I don't have all the equipment to paint it myself, or at least I'm not set up. I don't have the paint. I got all the equipment, I guess, and nothing set up. But how much custom painted crankbait stuff do you get into?
I am very picky with my custom paint jobs. Yeah. I don't have anything that I painted here myself. I do fish a lot of crankbaits that I paint myself, but I don't have anything here on the table that I painted myself. I have one painted crankbait that we'll talk about here in a little bit that I have painted for a very specific reason. But I'd say less than 10% of my baits are custom painted.
I used to custom paint a lot of stuff because it bothered me. Oh, I really like this color, but they don't make this bait in that color. And then it just got where I didn't want to take the time. I mean, I was painting jigs every day for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to paint when I'm done working. I'm painting while I'm working. I don't want to paint when I'm done working. I found there's a lot of guys that can custom paint crankbaits, especially here, like walleye guys. Yeah. You can find they probably got to buy paint. They're good. They're artists. Like they're really good at stuff, but they're not used to painting bass stuff. So usually you got to count them into buying you paint colors and this and that. But the biggest thing I find with these custom painted crankbaits, and I would say it definitely matters when you start playing with the balsa and the characteristics that you get out of a balsa bait, they mess it up with the clear coat.
Yes, 100%.
You know, like jerk baits, same thing. I've got one guy, and I try to take good care of him because when me and him work together, we figured out he can custom paint jerk baits for me and not mess with the buoyancy. I don't know why. We tried a bunch of different clear coats, but we found one that seems to be neutrally buoyant, so it doesn't really make it float or sink more. But that seems to be the biggest thing when I've dealt with custom painted crankbaits. It's like the bait's not designed for that extra coat of clear on it and paint. It doesn't run the same. And I just got out of doing custom. Certain baits paint well. Certain baits don't seem to matter, but a lot of baits, especially the balsa, I feel like you start putting more paint on there and it just messes it up.
Yep. And it's got to be a pretty thin clear coat.
Yeah. Now, did you ever back to your fat wrap? Did you ever fish the shallow fat wrap, the one with the little thumbnail bill on it? I don't think I own one. Yeah, that was, man. That was my square bill for forever. I mean, forever. Yeah. It wasn't until, man, like 2005. That was like, man, I need a square bill that goes a little deeper because it's a shallow running crankbait. It's like I said, it's like a baby 1- or it's like a 1 to 2 foot crankbait. Mm-hmm. So good around fry garters. Gosh, that thing was good around fry garters. It was like crashed into everything, very intrusive. Didn't roll a lot, just went boom, boom, boom in the water with very little roll.
Well, my last bait in the squarebill category, I don't know. There's a lot of people knocking this thing off now, but it's been a standby for a very long time for a lot of guys.
Speed trap,
the old Lure Jensen speed trap, and this thing, dude. I mean, it almost fishes like a balsa bait. The way that it rises,
it was a different bait.
It's a high float bait that they call it a speed trap for a reason. You can wind the thing as fast as you can and it'll stay true. My favorite thing to do with that bait is crashing rock. When you got that baseball to, maybe 2 to 3 foot wide rock around that's kind of cobbled, crashing that stuff into there during a shad spawn. Dude, and it's got a real unique rattle. It's got a single ball inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can hear that.
When you first pick it up, you can hear it. Yeah, then you could when you first picked it up, you can hear it.
So it's got a single ball in there, and what's cool about that rattle is it's totally random. It's not in a chamber. So it's almost an inconsistent rattle because it's bouncing around all over that body, hitting on different thicknesses or different distances in that body. It's different, and that thing is a flat out fish catcher. We've absolutely murdered. In town here, there's a couple different lakes that many 30-pound bags have been caught on a speed trap.
Now, you said a lot of people are copying that.
They are.
There's getting to be. Have you seen the Storm speed trap?
Yes.
You know that Normark Rapala owns Lure Jensen, and they just rebranded the original speed trap under Storm.
Well, But I think Sixth Sense is also making almost an identical copy of the Speed Trap. There's 2 or 3 different companies that are making almost an identical bait to the old Speed Trap.
I was just looking here. Have you played with it? Have you used that?
No.
Sixth Sense one?
All I have is the old school ones.
So you got the Storm Speed Trap, which, like I said, it's going to come with that same snap on the front. I mean, I'm not going to say it's 100% the same original Lure Jensen Speed Trap, but
it's very close.
It's going to be very close. You got Norman with the Speed N.
Yeah. That's not the same bait, though.
I don't think so.
It's not.
But yeah, Sixth Sense. There was somebody else I seen too not that long ago. I was like, oh, that's like a Speed Trap. I can't remember who it was, but that's one bait though. I've not played with that bait much. We had a guy who was sort of in Wisconsin. He was sort of like the local fishing celebrities in Wisconsin. His name's Joe Booker, and he used a lot of the Lure Jensen stuff. And I never got into the Speed Trap, but they used to have a lipless crankbait that was different than anybody else's lipless crankbait. And man, that thing would catch smallmouth like natural lake smallmouth like nobody's business. But they don't make that.
I don't remember that bait.
I want to say it was like a sugar crank or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to ask him. I know he's got boxes of them still. They're probably all red. Weird. Spring smallmouth around weeds. If they're all red lipless crankbait. Weird. Don't wonder why. All right, what else you got?
Do you have any other Squarebills to talk about?
Oh, I got all kinds of. Yeah. Well, you went sort of like shallow crank. I mean, do you have other shallow cranks? Do you have other 4 foot, sub 4 foot crankbaits to discuss?
No, not sub 4 foot.
Okay, well, let me go through what else
now is 5 foot and deeper. So go ahead and go into yours.
I want to talk a little bit more in detail, like this bait. Like I wanted to compare it to what you were talking about, but this
what is that
Fat
again?
John. That's the Spro Fat John. FAT, not FLAT. You're gonna have to deal with my Wisconsin accent and not understand me half the time. This bait to me, like the balsa bait, like I was saying, like it just comes through cover. Like out of all the Squarebills I've owned, some come through cover real easy. Some it seems like you have to have the right rod. This bait, I can throw on a pretty stiff rod. And I'm fishing this a lot of times around wood with current in it. So the current's pushing it into a log. I might get bit. I got to yank a fish out of it. I got to fish some pretty stout rods a lot of times just to, well, great. Yeah, I can fish my bait through it, but I can't ever get a fish out of it. So I got to up my rod. This bait really just hunts well in that cover, seems to have good draw power to get fish to come out off that cover in current. There's times in the spring, like if I'm on a lake and stuff, a lot of times I'll go to that Lucky Craft 1.5. I prefer a silent, but there are times where I've had rattles make a difference in cold, muddy water. But I mean, this, I don't know, this day in, day out, like I said before, there's always a Squarebill rod. Probably the one I found the best that has the, I don't know, I call it's the fastest actioned composite crankbait rod is the 7.2 medium heavy X-Bride. I love that rod. I can throw this on a 7 foot medium, but that 7.2 medium heavy composite X-Pride, I'm doing some stuff. I want to try to custom build one. I've got some different composite blanks, some Bushido crankbait blanks from MHX that I'm going to try to see if I can build something comparable and just change up components just because, why not? I'm bored. But that 7.2 medium heavy crankbait rod, I use that for a lot of cranks. I mean, I pretty much crank everything on the 7 foot medium or 7.2 medium heavy. Almost everything nowadays is on those.
That medium, the 7.2 medium heavy is my Squarebill rod. That's what I throw. Yeah. And I will also throw a lighter chatterbait on that rod too.
Yeah, I've thrown DT6s on it. I've thrown just a ton of stuff. Rock crawlers. I'm river cranking most of the time when I'm using that type of rod anyway. So I'm, I can throw a lot of stuff on those 2 rods.
Yep.
Well worth it. Everybody's like, well, I can buy a composite crankbait rod for $150. And it's like, it's cruddy guides and crappy reel seat, and it's heavy and bulky feeling. And I do like St. Croix Legend Tournament composite. They're composite crankbait rods, not the Legend Tournament orangey looking copper colored glass rod.
Your glass ones.
Your Legend Tournament composites, or they'll say glass. They have a 7.2 medium moderate that's nice. A 7.4 medium heavy moderate that's actually with braid, a really nice big topwater rod. Yeah, I think I covered that one enough.
Yeah.
Before.
Talk really quick about
the little brother. Those 2 baits are the same series. It's the Spro Fat John, designed by John Cruz. Every time that guy makes something, I gotta try it, because even if I've thought some of the stuff he makes is like, what is he doing there? I try it. I'm like, gosh dang it, this looks dumb to me, but man, it works. We'll talk about one.
So kind of going back to, I remember this almost same thing happening in our swim bait episode. A lot of guys cranking will just cast and wind, right? That's not what we're doing cranking, especially when you are cranking in cover. Yes, you're casting. Yes, you're winding it back. But as you're winding it back, you are feeling your way through cover. Yep. And you're almost worming your way through the brush if you're fishing brush.
That's the term that I use. I call it worming my crankbait through cover. I use that same term whether I'm fishing grass. That's something that I've done a lot of. Me and you talked about when we were in preparation for this podcast. We'll get into that in a while. I guess if someone's like, I want to be a better crankbait fisherman, the first thing I'm going to tell them is, especially with these shallow crankbaits, where the whole intent is that you are bumping cover most of the time. Like, you want to try to make it come in contact with rocks, this, that, and the other thing. And this is a philosophy that I've recently started to apply much more deliberately to my chatterbait fishing, and it seems to have really improved my chatterbait fishing as well, is be deliberate with every crank of your handle.
100%.
What if I'm just cranking, I am just cranking to crank it down. Once I get into cover, I'm trying to use that rod. And I get real particular about my rods usually with crankbaits, because I want to feel that I know exactly what the crankbait's doing. And I'm cranking that handle, and it's like I lost contact with bottom, and I'm going to give it one of these, and that's going to make it jump. It's going to make it do something. It's going to make it react, whether I recover contact with bottom or cover again, or I don't. Flipping a jig, you can sort of tune out, and you just be like, yo-yo.
Yeah.
Just leave it sit, pause, yo-yo. But with a crankbait, I think the really, really good crankbaiters, every cast they make, they crank it down, and you're like, that's deliberate. Everything's deliberate. They're getting it down there. They're worming it through cover. We've got Squarebills that are meant to do that in shallow wood and rock. You got, like the Strike King XD series that's made to get that bait down and bottom, whether that's rock or clam beds or clay or sand or whatever. And then, of course, you have, which we'll get into, the crankbaits that are for suspended fish. And now that crank, and I use the handle of my reel. I don't use my rod. I don't use a twitch. I use my handle. One of the reasons why I've actually started to play with 7-to-1 gear ratios for certain cranking techniques that I normally wouldn't in the past, because I can manipulate it more than I could with a 6-4-to-1 or 6-2-to-1, getting that 32
really
inches.
Speed it up when you want to.
I can really, you say it's real hard to slow down, but you know what? My spinning reels, I think I'm fishing my little 2.8 Kitech real slow, and it's got a reel that's 36 inches per handle turn pickup. You know, my bait caster, my fast ones are 30, so you can slow down. Generally speaking, if they want to eat it, they're going to eat it no matter how fast you fish it. Generally speaking, so
exactly.
Started to transition from that a little bit.
No,
but yeah,
so to add on to that,
deliberate. Be deliberate with your crank.
To add on to being deliberate, if you do just cast the thing out and wind it back, if you're fishing grass, you're going to get balled up in grass every single time.
Yeah.
If you're fishing through brush or you're fishing through trees, if you just wind it through that tree, you're going to get the thing hung up every single time.
Yeah.
If you're being deliberate about it, there are ways to get a bait through the nastiest cover if you have the right bait tied up.